Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzi. We have a great show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is the Astros resurgence, doing much better as of recently after starting off the season very underwhelming. So we'll be going over that. After that, we'll be going over Tarek School's incredible season for the Detroit Tigers, my AL and All-Star ballot, my AL and NL All-Star ballot, and then finally a little bit of a first-round mock draft with the NBA draft happening tonight, tying that in a little bit with baseball. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link, gsmcpodcast.net. The Reddits of the show, and the Reddits mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show for today. Alright, so the first topic is going to be about, like I said, the Astros and their resurgence doing much, much better as of recently. Let's get into it. So, obviously, I've talked about the Astros a lot in this show, being one of the most underwhelming teams this entire year. Have just done really, really horrible. And, they have just been one of the most underwhelming teams I've seen in a long, long time. They had a lot of injuries going into this year and then happening within the year, and it really just killed them down the stretch. And they were off to a bad, bad run. And they are doing better as of recently, though, so it is good. And I just wanted to come here and talk about why and what is going on with them. So, first of all, if you do look at the American League West right now, they have jumped back into second place. They are 2 games above the third place team, the defending world champion Texas Rangers, with 4.5 games just out of first place of the Seattle Mariners. They're 8-2 over their last 10 and have done very, very well. And the also thing that if you look at their opponents, then it's not even like they played bad opponents. They just played the Orioles in a 3-game series at home in Houston, swept them, and even though they were home, the Orioles are, in my opinion, the best team in the American League. So being able to sweep them is pretty incredible and a really, really great sign for the future. You also, of course, beat the White Sox in a 3-game series, which it's the White Sox, yes, but you have to take advantage of beating these horrible bad teams if you want to be able to do something this year. You look back as well. They won 2 out of 3 versus the Tigers, and they won 2 out of 3 versus the Angels. Won 2 out of 3 versus the Cardinals. So going back, not just these 10 games, but back before that as well, they've done much better recently, and there is a little bit of a sign of future, I'd say right now, if you are an Astros fan, and if you are just hoping this team will get better. And I think the main reason for this is the starting pitching improving. Of course, I've talked about many times in the show how bad the starting pitching has been, how underwhelming it has been for injuries or just lack of underperformance in general, but it's done much better as of recently, and that's really due to 2 people. First off, Hunter Brown, the guy you see on the screen there. Brown has done much, much better as of recently, lowering his ERA now currently. He has lowered his ERA. Let me get that up here for a second. He's lowered his ERA to 4.37, which might not be the greatest, but at the same time, you look at where his ERA was before in the season, that is very, very low considering where he was at. So that's a really great job by him. He stepped up when it matters, and now the Astros are only 1 game back of being 500. So that's very, very significant right now. I mean, as I said, they won 6 straight. So you look at Hunter Brown recently. Yesterday, he did end up going 6 innings pitched, giving up 2 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. A very, very solid start against a really good Orioles team. So overall, just a very exciting revelation. Sorry, we have the Rockies, not the Orioles. It doesn't really take it away, but to get the team wrong there. But is a very exciting sign if you are an Astros fan. Brown was, of course, supposed to be a big part of your rotation this year with all the injuries you had, with the guys getting older, like Justin Verlander. He was supposed to take a big step up, and he really did not do that at the start of the year. He was doing very, very poorly, and the fact that he is doing as great as he is now is a very, very exciting revelation for you guys in the future as well. I think not just now, but a lot of people look to your future as kind of murky with all the contracts you have, with all the people expiring, with all the older players you have, and they don't really see much of a young core building. And the fact now that you have one of these young pitchers in Hunter Brown being able to kind of rebuild his value, become a much better player, is very, very exciting for the future and very exciting if you are an Astros fan because of not just now, but of the future as well. Justin Verlander, probably going to be a free agent this offseason. I don't think you want to re-sign him, and I don't think you are going to re-sign him, so he's probably gone. Framber Valdez, a free agent after next year, which he could potentially leave. And even so, he's getting older and has regressed a little bit as well. So being able to have one of these younger pitchers step up and do really well in this role is not just good for this year when you have been underperforming, but is also going to be great for your future and gives you someone to potentially build around and gives you someone to potentially be a long-term solution in your franchise. So that is very exciting if you are an Astros fan. Now, also, I want to look at another person, which is Ronald Blanco. Now, Blanco is not someone I've talked about enough on this show, but I just didn't really have a ton of time for him. Of course, he did throw a no-hitter earlier in the season, but it's kind of hard doing a segment on no-hitter. When am I supposed to talk about the history of no-hitters for 12 minutes? So I don't really think there was a pathway there, but Blanco has been a very exciting, again, revelation for this Astros team. Kind of came out of nowhere. I believe he was a waiver claim a few years ago, and now is finally up to the big leagues and has done very, very well. Now, of course, we've known about him because he has a very wild season. Again, making all these great starts for the Astros, doing very well, and then also getting suspended for a sticky stuff violation. So that was interesting. But you look at his stats right now. He has a 2.34 ERA. The expected ERA is only at 3.57. So they're also not saying he's regressing a significant amount. I mean, of course, a guy like Ronald Blanco is never going to sustain a 2.34 ERA. I mean, that's just common baseball practice. We know that. But the fact they're only saying he'll go up a little bit, a 3.57, FIP is saying a little higher at 4.06, but at the same time, these numbers still aren't horrible, and Blanco's young, he's under control for a long time, so he's someone you're able to not kind of build around in a sense, and also be able to progress in a nice way in the future, be able to develop them more importantly, and I think Blanco's become a very important player for this team. With all the injuries they've had to the pitching core, and believe me, it's been a lot. Blanco has been able to find consistency with his rotation, has been a very, very big guiding piece of this team. And if he wasn't on this team and he wasn't pitching the way he was, I don't think the Astros would be even close to 500 right now. They'd probably be one of the worst teams in the league, to be perfectly honest with you. So Blanco, an unsung hero. He's been talked about a lot, but I haven't talked about him yet, and I wanted to, and he's just done absolutely fantastic. And going back to Hunter Brown for a second, I noticed I did not talk about his underlying stats. And yeah, if you look at them right now, his expected ERA is 3.32. So they're saying his ERA is going to go down almost by a full run, most likely after the All-Star break. So that's very exciting news if you're an Astros fan. You're getting these guys back. Verlander potentially gets some rest after the All-Star break as well, after coming off his injury. So that should be exciting as well. Potentially gets better. So if you're an Astros fan, things are looking up right now. I mean, sweeping the Orioles is a very, very exciting thing. And yeah, there's not a lot of talent right now in this Astros team with the starting pitching department. I mean, Spencer Arrighetti has just become a disaster for you guys. But Framber Valdez is still there, someone I haven't mentioned a little bit, but still a great, great pitcher, and he's done great this season, so he's always going to be great. But, you have guys like Spencer Arrighetti who's starting consistent games for you, just not that good. And the thing about the Astros is that they still do have potential to get a starting pitcher at this deadline. And there are some good pieces. The main pieces I would look at are Garrett Crochet and Jack Flaherty. Flaherty is a rental, but and so it shouldn't cost that much. Still should cost a good amount. I mean, he's having a fantastic season for the Tigers team. That is definitely going to be sellers. And also with a lack of starting pitching options on the market, I think Flaherty could get a good amount of people back for him. So Flaherty is an option for the Astros here. If you want to go more long-term and more bigger, you can go for a big swing like Garrett Crochet of the White Sox, who is obviously under control for a significant amount of more time. It's also younger, so I think Crochet could be a significant piece you could add as well. But really, those two guys I would look at. The Mets could potentially look to trade Luis Severino if they are out of it, and even if they're not out of it, there's been some rumors that they could trade him just to take advantage of the pitching depth they have. But I don't know. That's kind of iffy for me. But I would say those two options and maybe a Severino or someone else that comes up with other teams that are going to be underperforming. But those are really the two guys I would mainly look at if you're an Astros fan looking to add a starting rotation, looking to add to your starting rotation. Now, just looking at this team overall, I mean, there's still a ton of talent here, obviously. You look at the hitting core, you have guys like Yanner Diaz. You have, of course, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Alex Bregman. You have Chas McCormick, Jake Myers in the outfield, Yordan Alvarez. These guys are significant players and are very, very good. And, of course, there's so much talent in this Astros team. There always is. So, I did kind of write them off earlier in the season. I said it would be hard to come back from these starting pitcher injuries. And it has been, but they've done well recently. And with Hunter Brown being better, Framber Valdez being a constant in that rotation, Blanco being great, the potential to add a starting pitcher, maybe even two, I think things are looking up for the Astros right now. And look, they're always a threat in the playoffs. You let them make it, I'd be scared. So if you're an AL fan, you should be hoping they don't make it, because this team is very, very good. Always is going to be, no matter what happens. So, I mean, we saw them make the World Series in 2020 after finishing under 500. Yes, that was a different season, but still. So, overall, this team still has a ton of talent on it. It's very, very exciting to watch. And, sorry, I made the ALCS in 2020. I'm just realizing I got that wrong. But yeah, this team is still very, very exciting. A lot to like on this team, a ton of talent. And yeah, if I'm an Astros fan, I'd be very, very excited. They've not done great this season, obviously, but there is still something to look forward to right now. And I think that things are actually looking up for them for the first time this season, if you are a fan of them. So yeah, that is our first segment here, talking about the Astros and the resurgence they are having this season. We'll move, after starting off poorly, I don't want to make it seem like they're doing good out of nowhere, but you get what I mean. We're going into our second segment here, which is going to be talking about Tarik Skubal and the amazing season he is having for the Detroit Tigers. So yeah, we'll be going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing